Okay, listen to this. You've tried all the productivity hacks, maybe listened to tons of mindset podcasts, signed up for courses, but you still feel kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, your brain might literally be wired to keep you failing. And unless you radically rewire it for how things are now, for 2025, you're already falling behind.
Wow, that's quite the opening statement, isn't it? Intense.
It is intense, but it really grabs you, and it's the starting point for our deep dive today.
Yeah, and it hits on a really important truth. Our brains, well, they're incredible, but they can definitely get stuck in, old ways of thinking, old patterns.
Right.
So today we're digging into neuroplasticity. That's the brain's power to actually change itself. We're drawing a lot from the groundwork laid out in books like Sharon Begley's Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain. It gives us kind of roadmap for, actually thriving in this crazy, fast world of 2025.
Exactly. And our mission here is pretty straightforward. We wanted to give you some practical, actionable things you can do. Ways to rewire your brain for better focus. Maybe overcome that fear of putting yourself out there and build habits that actually lead to success. Habits that stick.
Let's do it. Where do we start? How can people actually begin reshaping their brains, like right now?
Good question. The first big idea is mental rehearsal.
Ah, yes. The core concept here, and it's backed by neuroscience, is that your mental activity, just thinking, physically changes your brain structure.
So thinking itself is like exercise for the brain pathways.
In a way, yes. You're laying down new connections, strengthening others. And think about 2025, burnout is real, AI is shaking things up, being able to mentally prepare, to rehearse success, that's a huge advantage. It's almost a necessity.
Okay, so it's definitely more than just like wishing for something good to happen. How do we make it practical?
Well, the suggestion is a daily practice, an identity action plan, let's call it. Just 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
And in that time, you vividly visualize a successful outcome. Really get into the details. Use all your senses in your mind. Think about, say, Elon Musk visualizing SpaceX launches over and over, or maybe Alex Hormozy mentally walking through closing a big deal.
Ah, okay, so you're building a mental blueprint.
Precisely. So for you listening, think about it. Where could mentally rehearsing a win just for 10 minutes a day give you an immediate edge? One specific area.
That's powerful stuff. Okay, moving on. What about the flip side? Those negative thoughts, the ones that seem stuck on repeat, how do we break that cycle?
Right, because another key principle is that repetition strengthens pathways. And that works for negative patterns too.
Oh, great.
Yeah, exactly. And today, with the constant digital overload, the news cycle, maybe anxieties about AI taking jobs, it's really easy for those negative thought loops to get amplified.
So our brains can actually get wired for worry or failure.
They can become predisposed to it, yeah. The pathways get well-worn.
So how do we interrupt that? Like concretely?
The action plan here is about interrupting and reframing. When you catch a negative thought, you actively interrupt it by verbalizing, saying out loud a positive reframe.
Out loud.
Out loud seems to be important, yeah. The suggestion is to do this consistently for 21 days to start building a new habit. Sounds simple, maybe even a bit awkward at first, but speaking it helps break that automatic negative loop. Think of how people like Oprah used affirmations to shift from a scarcity mindset.
Okay, interrupting the pattern by speaking a new one. I like that.
Yeah.
So what's one negative thought you listening right now would want to start actively reframing, starting today?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely. Okay, next up, getting into that focused, strategic CEO mode. How do we cultivate that?
Ah, that brings us to the frontal lobe. That's the part of your brain right behind your forehead. It's the executive control center, decision-making, planning, emotional regulation.
The boss of the brain.
Pretty much. And in 2025, cutting through all the online noise and distraction to make clear, strategic choices. Well, that's absolutely critical, isn't it?
Couldn't agree more. So how do we give the frontal lobe a boost, a workout?
The idea is a daily frontal activation ritual. Sounds fancy, but it's essentially combining maybe a short meditation practice with some strategic journaling.
Okay, like every morning.
Ideally, yeah, even just a few minutes. Focused breathing to calm the system, then intentionally writing down your priorities, potential challenges, strategic thoughts. Think about Jeff Bezos and his famous morning routine focused on high-level thinking. It carves out space for that frontal lobe to do its best work.
It creates that pause, that mental space needed for perspective. So for everyone listening, how could adding even just a few minutes of focused reflection, maybe in the morning, improve your decision-making?
Something to consider.
Okay, finally, let's talk about making success last. not just relying on bursts of motivation that fade. How do we build something more permanent?
This is where it gets really deep, rewiring your identity. The core idea is that who you fundamentally believe yourself to be shapes your brain's default state much more powerfully than fleeting motivation ever could.
So identity drives the bus, not just willpower.
Exactly. And think about 2025 again. AI is making some skills redundant, but a strong personal brand, a clear sense of self and purpose grounded in your identity that becomes incredibly valuable. That's unique.
Okay, so it's about being the successful person, not just doing the successful things. How do we actively shape that belief, that identity?
The action plan is about crafting and internalizing identity statements. These are powerful I am statements about who you are becoming, aligned with your goals.
Like affirmations, but maybe more foundational.
Kind of, yeah. More about core being. Write them down, review them daily, maybe even nightly. Really let them sink in. Imagine someone, let's call her Emma Langston, CEO of a fictional neuro brand. Her success isn't just hacks. It's driven by routines built around her core identity as a focused, impactful leader.
So you live into the identity. What's one identity statement that would really fuel your goals for 2025?
That's the key question.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be if you're feeling stuck, it's probably not that you're fundamentally broken or flawed.
Right. You might just be operating with brain wiring optimized for a previous time, a different world. Success now, in 2025, really demands that we proactively, intentionally rewire our own brains.
Stop just reacting to everything flying at you.
And start consciously, mentally rehearsing the future, the identity, the success you actually want to create.
It reminds me of that quote we started with, "You're not broken, you're just wired for yesterday." In 2025, winners are entrepreneurs who proactively rewire their brains. Stop reacting. Start rehearsing your future.
Powerful reminder. So maybe the final thought for everyone is, which one of these techniques, mental rehearsal, reframing negative thoughts, activating the frontal lobe, or identity statements, which one really resonates with you the most right now?
Yeah, and what's one tiny, immediate step you could take, maybe even today, to just begin that rewiring process?